Good morning. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week
Good morning.
14.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. And look we've got everybody's faces. This
Yeah.
is great. And Kelly, you've already
And she
showered
has
and had your
coffee.
hair and
I want some of her coffee.
Coffee. I
some
got my
of
hair
it.
done
Make
yesterday,
make
so
me
It
a
looks great.
cocktail. Yeah.
It
there
looks
we go.
great. And mom's here. And I think it's gonna be just the five of us. So awesome. So let's start with a quick review of the first two agreements, which agreement number one is where am I in my work?
Impeccable.
Thank you. Being impeccable with your word. And then we had the conversation on not taking things personally. And then a
Right.
week has gone by, and we're going to talk about not making assumptions, or don't make assumptions today.
Right.
But
Right.
let's just, in the course of the last week, did anything come up for you in regards to taking things or not taking things personally? And then the impeccable with your word, like examples of where you see it or not see it, or not seeing people be impeccable. Anything that comes to mind?
Let me think.
Maybe I should have an easier opening question.
Right? Yeah, it should have been
Yeah.
our
Well,
homework.
maybe we all just approached everything wisely this last week. I mean, there was moments when things were a little gossipy. I mean, you run into somebody, but I just chose not to participate.
Good for you. Good for you.
Unless I decide I want to just gossip with Kelly, you know.
And then that's that timeout time. And again, like the idea of gossip is really it's very fine line between, verbal processing and working something out, and just, sometimes when we verbal process, we're just asking, like, am I alone in this? Am I seeing this right? And where you're seeking another person who maybe knows the same person, and even though they're not there, you're talking about them, but it's the intention behind it, the impeccableness behind it, that I think is really the distinguishing factor there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Assumptions. I remember Kelly saying, right, that this is your most challenging.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Because I feel like every time when somebody does something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna like I don't even realize that I'm doing it. Like, and then I realized, oh, well, maybe that's not why they did. I just assumed they did. Because it's
Yeah, we had
logical
one of those
in my head,
conversations
but
yesterday, Cal. Remember, we're talking about the whole our vacation, and I said, "Well, yeah, don't assume that because that's not right." Yeah.
yes, I
Yes.
do. Yes, exactly. You did. You literally said, "Don't assume that." That's not what I
Yeah,
thought.
because it's
I was
not
like,
true.
oh,
Yeah.
I okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
reminders are good, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard one for me because my mind automatically
You can have those,
thinks
just
Yeah.
warm them
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Do you make do you notice that generally the assumptions that you make are based on, like, how you would operate in a situation versus other people? Like, that we assume that, if for I'm going to give you a concrete
Right.
example from my world, is that typically when I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and and so I assume that other people, when they say that they're going to do something, they're going to do it, and then that can really lead to a lot of disappointment, and then you take things personally, and it's just like, oh, you just aren't me. And you just do
Or
things.
you assume they're not going to do it because they're not you.
What's that?
Or you assume they're not going to do it because they're not you.
Like, you might not, but sometimes that's what.
I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah.
I think too that like, you think you know somebody so well. I'm just going to assume that's what they think because I know, like, and
Right. Right.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. What stuck out for me is reading it over. Okay, I'm not assuming too much, but then you read it over and it says, rather than assume or just believe something, you have to be brave enough to ask. Oh, that's
Yes.
the deal.
Yeah.
And that brings up a lot of stuff for me.
Mhm.
brave enough to ask, so you really know the answer.
Yeah.
That's part of assuming. You just say, okay, they understand. They know where I'm coming from, but can't assume that they do know where you're coming from because you don't know till you ask. So
Right.
it's bravery to ask. That's
And
what
then-
really hit me.
Yeah, and then that activates the throat chakra. And if you have fear around, or you are afraid of somebody's response, you know, like making an assumption, it might just be easier
Right.
to
Oh,
not.
yeah,
Definitely.
way easier.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's what Kimberly's saying. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
easier just to avoid the conversation at all because,
right. And then you have the
Pushing it right.
disappointment though. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
you
then-
might have the disappointment, but I do feel like it is better to ask sometimes. But you're right, it does take
Bravery.
yes, for sure.
Well, then you have to talk about it later with them or bring it up. Sometimes it's another conversation. You're assuming something. It's like, oh, well, now I've got to approach that person to find out if I'm right, or do I really want to go there?
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't want to bring up that nasty conversation. Yeah.
So how many of you are like Kelly and consider this agreement to be the most challenging one, the assumption agreement? Hmm.
I didn't
Well,
until I read
yeah.
through it. And the bravery part came up, right?
Okay, so tell us more, like what has been a pattern for you, and how has that, like, even just reading that, how has that challenged your perception of this agreement, and also how it plays out in your life?
Right. Well, I wasn't presuming that I was assuming. I wasn't,
Oh,
it wasn't on my radar at all, right?
Mhm.
And then you go through your life, I go through my day. Oftentimes I'll just do it myself because then I know it gets done. And, not that I need it done a particular way, but I just need it to get done.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people are not efficient. So you can't assume they know how to do it, and I'm not even attached to, do it this way, but you have to be brave enough to say, okay, we need to do this, and this is how you do it if they don't know how to do it. So
Mm.
you have to ask, do you know what I mean? Do you know how to do this? So it's gonna, yeah. If I quit assuming and ask more,
Mhm.
yeah, it's gonna open up a lot of cans.
Or
Right.
do you just let things
A lot of
go?
cans.
You
Right,
just
instead
accept the
of
way
just
this
letting it
other
go.
person's going to do it.
Right, let's do it this
Yeah.
way. Let's do it
Yeah.
and get it done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the agreements are waking up my little instincts, and they're reaching out.
Interesting. And that's good. That's what ultimately we want, is just to see how many things get in the way. Because again, it's so simple. 4 agreements,
Right?
so simple. And yet not, because when we were making an assumption, there's so many layers that are under that. Like, and that bravery layer, I'm really glad that you brought that up. The bravery layer is there. And also, and what Kelly said about just feeling like you really know somebody. Or my assumption is, feeling that people think and act in the same way that I do.
Yeah.
There's the complexity of our humanness that really gets
Well,
activated.
and in our humanness too, that like you could react to different things different ways depending on the day. So if you're going to assume that someone's going to react or do something one way, they might do it that way one day but not the next day, as we all would.
It's true. This is true. And you were just saying something that made me think, and oftentimes our assumptions can be worse than the reality.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Oh,
point.
I think, yeah. Half the time, probably. At
And we
least.
create our own misery by doing that. We assume that
Exactly.
somebody is gonna like fly off the handle or be angry or I guess that's kind of the same thing. And then you just have the conversation, have that bravery to have the conversation. You're like, oh, that was not nearly as bad as I was playing it out in my mind. And then all of that time that we have spent telling ourselves a story that's not true, or believing something that isn't even true. But it's about our point. What did he say? When we believe something, we assume we are right about it, to the point that we will destroy relationships to defend our position. That was
Yikes. Right? That's hard.
Yeah. And then he goes on, like, this is exactly what I have done. We make assumptions that everyone sees life the way we do. We assume others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. This is the bigger assumption that humans make. And this is why we have a fear at being ourselves around others. It's like, whoa. Because we think everybody will judge us, victimize us, abuse us, blame us, as we do ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a pretty tough thing to meditate on. Being ourselves around others. How does, like, just even that concept, how he tied assumptions to being ourselves. Does anybody feel that connection? Or are there certain people where you are truly yourselves around, and other people perhaps less so, because you're afraid that they're gonna, like in my case, think that you're a weirdo that talks to the moon?
I love that about you.
Yeah, I know. I'm comfortable being my weird self around you, but I certainly know people who shift, out of their woo-woo world, let's just say, into like oh, so and so is going to make this assumption about me, or they think that. And I've had friends that hide a part of themselves from certain people,
Which kind of goes back to last week's agreement, right?
yeah, about not
Being-
taking yeah,
not
like
personally. Yeah.
being brave enough to be like, this is who I am.
Exactly.
I'd like to hear from the sage in the group, the wise one with the white hair.
Yes, let's hear it, Blythe. Wisdom.
Pardon?
Drop some wisdom
You know,
bombs on us.
when I read that chapter, I mean, I really liked this one, but I can't give you any specifics, but it really brought out a lot of aha moments as to the person with whom I live. And I just thought, let it go, let it go, let it go. And it kind of made me smile in a way, reading that, and it was kind of a relieving thing. Don't make assumptions that I don't even want to say them,
Well, can I bring, like, I just, in relation to what you're just talking about, I know that you have a desire for your husband to be more active, or just, more engaged with life from your
Outside
perspective, right? Because you're a very active person. Not only are you actively teaching classes, and you go to Tai Chi and you take walks and you're in all these groups, this is how you operate. And so I could see how it would be easy to make an assumption that Russ, like, who enjoys a sitcom in his lounger chair, that he's either unhappy, or, I mean, what assumptions? Yeah, would that be a fair assumption to make, that's
Yeah,
your
probably.
assumption? Right, that
Yeah,
he's
and
unhappy, and maybe he is, but that's where you have to get brave enough to ask the question.
But that's his, and I've just it kind of, I guess, reading this chapter helped me let go of just a lot of things that kind of worry me, and I think it's not my problem. It's not my it's not mine, it's
Yeah.
someone else's, and they have to make their own decisions. And once in a while, pardon me, oh, itchy, allergic nose.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I will make them and make a move. I did yesterday, I guess, when I came home from Tai Chi
Mhm.
and said, we are going to the brewery tomorrow night with the gal who leads Tai Chi and her husband, and it's going to be fun. End of conversation, kind of. And but he says, sure.
Mhm.
So you just sometimes I have to push more than I want to push because I don't want to be the pushy broad that says, come on, we're gonna do this. And but when I mentioned what it was okay. And I kind of assumed, made
Mhm.
the assumption that it would be okay because it's people that he
Mhm.
barely knows, but he's comfortable with.
Yeah,
So
and that
I
felt a
don't know
little
where that falls.
But
safer.
is there also the assumption that you assume he's not happy sitting in his chair watching his comedy show?
Mm.
Say that again, Peggy.
Do you also assume he's not happy in his chair watching his comedy show?
I have no idea what goes on here in that chair watching those
Yeah,
shows. I mean,
I
he's,
mean-
I mean, he doesn't laugh out loud,
Yeah.
so I don't know if he's really there, if he's just vegetating there with
Yeah,
it when
yeah.
it's on, and or if he really likes them. And
But you haven't asked
I-
the question.
I don't care enough to ask the question.
There's that too, yeah.
Wait, is that true?
Huh? Yes, I mean,
is
because
that true?
it's like it really
Or
is. I
is
just
there
think,
fear?
oh, pardon me?
I said, is that
Say it
true
again.
that you don't care enough, or is there fear in the bravery of having to ask that question? Are
Oh, well,
you
maybe
That-
I'll reword it and say,
okay?
it really isn't my business, my thing, and if he enjoys it, have at it, as long as I don't have to join in and I can come in here and do my thing. So,
And
um,
that leads to that point that, I mean, that is a beautiful way to love another person. I think it's on page 70, says, real love is accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them.
yeah. And there ain't no changing, so,
I think that you just
Or is that an assumption?
I just had my own little aha moment. So
Okay.
instead of assuming what, in this case, what he's thinking or what he's doing, it's like a release of it doesn't really matter. He's choosing to do that. It doesn't have anything
That
to
must
do
be
with
okay.
you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, you could, depending on the situation, you could be brave and ask the question if it's something that needs to be asked, but you have to also ask yourself, is it my business? Do I need to know? Do I need to assume? Do I need to
Yeah.
ask? Or do I just like, I'm doing my own thing in my own room with my own thing.
Mhm.
and this
I
is
like
his
that.
thing. When he needs to, he'll get up and go do what
Mhm.
Right.
really needs to be done
Mhm.
and come right back to it. And
Yeah.
it's his biz. I mean,
Yeah.
we couldn't be more different in the background makeup on this, and I just have to zip and let it go. And reading this says it's okay. I can let it
You do
go
that.
Yeah. I like
Granted.
that.
and
Mhm.
not get pissy about it. And because I'm not. I mean, I just which is a hurdle. It's I do not get pissy about it anymore. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was because I'm making this assumption maybe that he doesn't. Hell, I'm hibernating in my room, not doing household things that I could do, like pull weeds and stuff like that. And he's hiding in front of his TV or his computer, not
Mhm.
pulling weeds or something like that. So it's fine.
Yeah, because there could be another, like if you flip that assumption wheel that, yeah, that what goes on in his mind, that he's making assumptions about you and your space and your creative space. I mean, it's that bravery element of, you know, where does it concern me? Where is it my business? Where is a line crossed? Because I could also see extrapolating it out. Like if you bring in health factors and being concerned about somebody's health, that it could be, I see this. I was just watching a TV show last night with Nora, and it came up where the partner took it personally, you know, felt personally attacked that the other partner wasn't taking care of their health. And so felt like by you not taking care of your health, like that person took it personally. And I can conceptually understand that, but that can be, that gets tricky there. And then maybe it's just a conversation of like how it hurts me, or how I'm affected by, because maybe I want to be active with you and I want to do things with you. And if that's not how it's going to, if that's not the same thing that you want for yourself, instead of taking it personally, it's like, well, then I'm going to seek out somebody who can walk with me and do the things.
Right. And
Like
then I got that from rereading it, is the partnership deal where, okay, my partner knows me. He should know that I want this done this way and I want to go out and I want attention. He should know that. Well,
Yes.
that's an assumption. Maybe
That's an
he doesn't know
assumption,
that. Right.
yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
tell him, gosh, it'd be nice to go out, or it'd be nice to hold hands, or whatever it is, if you just kind of say it out loud instead of assuming he knows and just in doing it, right? So I
Right.
really put that in the partnership of things, because
Right.
I aspire to have a partner. And I remember hearing that when I reread that, I remember hearing that, well, how am I supposed to know? You didn't tell me,
Yeah. The
right?
mind
So
reading.
we
Yeah,
might step a little bit further out with a partner, even a friend or any relationship, and say, gosh, it would just really be fun if we did this, or whatever it is, instead of assume they don't care or they don't wanna,
Mm-hmm.
they don't care how you feel. You can say, boy, it feels like this, and give them a chance to
When
say,
it's,
I'm sorry you feel that way. I didn't know that, right? I didn't know you wanted me to go out and take a walk with you,
That's true.
or
Because we're
yeah,
all in our own mind.
go out and pull weeds together, or we could do that. Be more
Right.
fun to do it together,
Mhm.
right?
I'm thinking
Yeah.
about my kids in that same regard. Like if you put the vacuum cleaner in front of the door of their room, I make the I think that that's a pretty clear message. But you
They
know,
think you just didn't put the vacuum cleaner away.
you're right. Yeah, well, mom didn't. Yeah, my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we used to
Mom
have
forgot.
stairs, stairs, and so I'd put things on the stairs that belong upstairs. With, like, am I the only person who sees this? And I'm assuming, and perhaps there are certain people that don't see clutter in the same way, or they don't see the things that bother us. But that's an assumption too, that just because you're like, this is clear to me that I put this on the stairs for you to bring up and put in your room.
And they're saying, why don't you just ask, Mom?
You're right, exactly.
Yeah,
Don't assume I'm going to vacuum my room just because the vacuum cleaner is there. I could have tripped over it, killed myself. But you're going to ask me to vacuum my room before I go somewhere, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's,
Yeah.
and that is something that I have found in my life, is that I do assume that other people understand my intention, or my
Mhm.
by an act of what I'm doing. I think I'm like, duh, of course this
And
is
when
right.
yeah. And then
right.
when you get irritable, they should have known why you were irritable,
Right.
because they didn't do that.
And then I take it personally.
Yeah, years ago, I was getting ready for a family gathering, and I was running around vacuum cleaning the house, and Doug was upstairs watching whatever he was watching, having a beer, whatever. And he came downstairs, and I said, you could have helped. And he said, you didn't ask. I said, well, I assumed you would come down and help me. Why wouldn't you not help me? This is our family. We're getting together. And he says, I said, I understand now, but next time just ask me, you want me to help you. And from that point on, we had a much clearer discussion,
Makes sense,
understanding of what
doesn't
it
it?
was. You know, if I wanted to go out and pull weeds, I'd say, hey, I need help today in pulling those weeds because he hates pulling weeds. So if I wanted it, I had to ask him to do it, not assume he's just being mean to me. You
Right.
know?
Or that
Yeah.
he doesn't
Or-
see, or he doesn't see you and what you're doing.
Right.
Right? Or he doesn't care. You could just
And I put
ask.
priorities of pulling weeds and he doesn't. Or I put priorities of cleaning the house for a company. Well, yeah, I probably do, but it was nice to have help, you know. If I actually ask for it, he'll give it. Yeah. Or he
Yeah,
would give it.
that's powerful.
Yeah, and it takes away being mad or hurt feelings too.
Mhm.
You can put the vacuum and say, hey, I'm putting the vacuum out here so you can vacuum your room. And then you don't have to get mad.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm putting it out here so you can vacuum. I'm putting this on
Yeah.
the stairs so you can take it upstairs.
Yeah.
If you need a little sign on the vacuum,
I know.
use this for your bedroom today.
I
Yeah.
do some Post-its that
Post-its
Yeah.
are good. I'm doing more Post-its. Thank you very much.
Need to
Yeah.
sneeze.
Post-its are good.
Yeah. There's
To
the
me.
affirming Post-its and there's
Yeah.
the please do this. Like, yeah. Or, you know, or the levels of cleaning. I'm just back on this, like with the kids,
Mhm.
like cleaning your bathroom. There could be an assumption on my behalf that cleaning your bathroom is not just putting the clutter away, but that you're
Actually cleaning.
like actually wiping it down. And so, you know, getting really clear and having that conversation. Like when I say to clean the bathroom, I want the toilet scrubbed, the this, the that, the that.
Yeah.
And
But you don't want them to jump down your throat and say, gosh, mom, you want me to do everything?
I know,
Geez,
yeah,
I've got things I have to do. Yeah. Yeah. So
well,
you're
and
trying
then
to
I
avoid
do
something.
that
Yeah.
too. I assume that like my kids are tired at the end of the day, or they've got all this stuff going on. And so I do fall into that system. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but where it's just like, I'll just do it.
Mhm.
But
I think that's very common, especially when you have the age that Nora is, and I guess Rhea's also in like the theater and stuff.
yeah,
And you just see them being so busy that I felt like when my kids were that age, I actually asked them to do less things around the house and I would just do it for them because I would assume
yeah,
they had it was
You're
rough
too
for
busy.
them.
Yeah.
And instead of like, I feel like around 8th and 9th grade, I had all these expectations. And then when they got a little older, I felt like I just picked up the slack because I did see them so stressed.
yeah. But today marks the first day of summer for us. They're
Cool.
they're
Awesome.
finishing up school today, and so that's another, you know, that's going to be a different energy in the house. And
Right.
A whole new dynamic. Yeah.
Be
Mhm.
clear on your expectations and don't assume.
Yes,
And
Yeah, a
make
lot more clutter.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's
list.
going to be, but I mean, it's really, really cool to see the tie between clearly communicating and assumption making.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then loving people as they are for who they are. There's a lot there that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the approach Blythe is taking.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that approach of just loving him exactly like that. This is who he is. This is what makes him happy, that's his. And that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm reaching for the book.
Yeah. The way to keep
Reaching for
yourself from
the-
making assumptions is to ask questions. Leaning in from a place of curiosity. I think that's just such a great way to do that. But I mean, I've had it backfire on me sometimes where I ask a question out of curiosity and then the person who receives it takes it personally. That's hard.
Which is why you have to be brave to ask the question because we all know that does happen. And that is a chance you're taking when you ask the question, that it is going to be not heard the way that you're trying to, like sometimes you try to express something and it doesn't come out the way that it was in your head.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And then if they've taken it personally, they're probably making an assumption that you are, with that question, perhaps judging or,
Or your intentions are different than they actually are.
yeah.
Which is why I think it's the hardest.
Yeah, and then to keep asking the questions until it says, have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be.
Oh my gosh, sounds daunting.
Yeah.
All the way to clarity? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right? Right. You're like, wait, do I have time for this? Is the person willing to engage with me this long on this too? And because sometimes it's really hard to ask the first question, but then, and then if it's poorly received, to follow up and, because then we shrink and then we're like, yeah, I,
Yeah, with loving kindness,
yeah,
ask the questions.
Yeah. yeah.
I
Fine.
think the chapter gave me more courage to ask a question rather than assume that what the answer to the question is going to be. And I have,
Right.
I mean, not a whole lot, because there's part of me that's a little passive in that realm, but
Mhm.
I have come out a lot more and just
Yeah.
said, whatever it is, I can't think of anything specific, but for instance, the simple thing of walking, I will say, sometimes I'll say, this is not an option. We need to take a walk. You need to take a walk, and we will, because he'll put on his shoes and do it and come home and go, glad that's over. But it was done, and I feel better. And actually, that he feels better for having gotten out in the fresh air and gotten a little, well, I assume he feels
So he feels better,
out there.
right?
But it's made me a lot more comfortable with either not harassing or saying, maybe asking it with an option of a yes answer.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah, what is it like,
So-
when they say, when you have like children, would you like to clean your room before dinner or after dinner?
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like
It's how you phrase things, right?
you have the choice, sort of.
Sort of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you like to take a walk before the show or after
after
the
the show?
show? Um,
Right.
and then assuming there could be another assumption that he understands that you're coming from a place of love and compassion for him and a desire for more investment in his health. Whereas, he might be thinking that, like it could be stuff from deep childhood about being nagged and doing something, like not wanting to do something that, somebody else has told him to do. I think that's
I know that he carries a lot of all different kinds of wounds from upbringing, whether just subtle neglect or
yeah.
things that have gone in deeper than being just neglect type things. And so I'm trying to be much more compassionate about that and just accept it without digging in to find out more about it, because I don't want to bring out more discomfort, but just the way certain people are talked about. I just think I just leave it.
Yeah. Or
And-
find the bravery to keep asking the questions, keep asking
Or
questions.
when it becomes important, then it becomes
Yeah.
either a not a lifestyle, but a living need to know. Tell me more about that.
Mhm.
And then I know a little bit more, but I know there's some ugliness back there, and not abusive, just New Jersey junk.
Junk.
Jersey junk. Oi.
I don't know how else to put
Yeah. Yeah.
it. Ways that you and I that weren't brought up, and that
Yeah,
he
there's
was.
That
a
is
lot of
interesting
layers.
for dealing with somebody like that, like that's different. How, we all have a different upbringing. So when you're trying to figure out how to navigate that and how to ask questions without triggering something from,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then even like people who are brought up the same, like I look at my 3 children and whew, I could not, like, they are so individually different and, require different methods of communication.
Absolutely true.
But the questioning is the same, like our responsibility to just have the courage to ask the questions. Cause yeah, this is really highlighting for me how many assumptions I make probably on a daily basis.
All the time. But also, if you were going
All
to
the
ask
time.
each of your kids to clean their room, you would probably ask each child differently
Mhm.
to do the same exact thing. Because I know I would, like for my
Yeah.
kids.
But is it that because she's assuming the response?
Mhm.
I'm assuming that you do it the way that I do
she's-
it. That's what I
yeah.
just did.
Yeah, you just assume the response, right?
It's really wild. It's so much deeper than it seems.
Then the statement, yeah, don't make assumptions,
Uh-huh.
right? It's
So-
a behavior change
The
to
other thing
to
is
switch that up. Yeah.
the not taking things personally in the assumptions is I find that sometimes I get people assume I'm going to take things personally and react to that and treat me differently. And I said, well, you're assuming I'm going to do that. I had a conversation with my other daughter recently. She says, well, I'm glad you're not taking that personally, Mom. And I said, I wouldn't have. Why did you assume that? Because that's her definition. She defines me by, and I even had it when my granddaughters went from, she says, she was reacting. She says, well, I knew you'd be very upset over it. And I said, why would I be upset? You're assuming I'm taking it personally, but I'm not, So yeah, they kind of go together a little bit. The
They really
assumptions
do.
and the personally, you react in one way because you're afraid someone's going to take you
Exactly.
personally. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, or the opposite happens where you are being as impeccable as you can and asking the question, and then they do take it personally. And then it's like, oh, now what?
Right.
Like, and then
Now, then you
yeah.
keep going until you get clarity. Isn't that what we
keep going. Well, that's what I'm learning is like, keep asking the questions, have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be. That's, I usually like to give myself, I'm like, I asked one hard question. I have done my
I'm
work.
done.
That already
Get that over with.
yeah. Yeah. But to keep on asking until you're as clear as can be. Find your voice, ask for what
Sometimes
you
that's
want.
hard.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, right?
Well, then you have to decide how much does it matter to you to ask it that clearly,
Yeah.
As Blythe was saying, she was fine with him sitting there, why would she care one way or the other? That's what he chooses to do. So that's good,
That's
Mm.
his,
right,
that's his.
right.
Yeah.
And so if you asked a question, you didn't like the answer, wasn't clear enough, you're not going to ask it again. You're going to move along,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's when you decide if it's the hill you want to die on, right? Like how
Yeah.
is it for you to get that? Or you're just like, yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
What you want to die on. You were running too many
To avoid
marathons,
you
so.
completely.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna be really honest. I'm out of here. Right? Ah.
Oh,
Oh.
right. Right. I mean, yeah.
Kind of.
Well, again, yeah, I'm also kind of non-confrontational, so that unless it's something that
Yeah.
I really want to stand my ground on,
Stand on business.
if I want to stand on business,
And I gotta go back to my picture.
Yes.
I'm standing on my business
Yes.
and everybody else is on theirs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Everybody else is
Okay.
on theirs, and it's right. Like we all, it's like that human continuum is so hard because yes, everybody is standing on their own business and they're responsible for their own energy, and yet we're all in some way connected too. Like it all matters. So it's coming back to, I mean, he even tied it back into the impeccableness of your word on page 72, the bottom paragraph. He says, the day you stop making assumptions, you will communicate cleanly and clearly, free of emotional poison. And without making assumptions, your word becomes impeccable.
They do. They all relate to each other.
They
Mhm.
really
You
do.
can really see it.
Because again, like so many, like back to sarcasm, like with that impeccableness in our words, it's like if you could just clear all that out, like just communicate cleanly and clearly, and yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that thought completed itself, but that's okay. I got a yeah from Kelly.
No, I got it.
No,
I
was
got it.
following you. I was following you.
And it's personal mastery. So it's something to attain. Of course, we
Right.
don't got it all now. We got to go through those motions and attain personal mastery. Sounds
Right.
like a pretty cool thing to have.
Right.
Personal mastery. Woo! I'm in. Put that on your business card.
Yeah. Master of not
Bam.
making assumptions.
Ma-
Oh my God.
Sorry, I've got to do a text real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on assumptions? I mean, it's straightforward and not straightforward. And I think it's what I love about these conversations is just putting it back in the forefront, just being reminded that, like we can get sloppy with our habits, and it's so easy to go back into old ways of doing, being, thinking, behaving, even when we know better. And it's just like kind of like a chiropractic adjustment is what it feels like when we leave here on a Thursday morning. I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay. Today's the day.
I'm going to practice.
I'm going to be
Right.
clear. I'm going to be kind.
Will not assume.
I will not assume, and I will hold my own responsibility for my own energy and realize what's mine and not mine. I mean, yeah, all
I
of it.
did post a little sticky in my window that says, I matter. And I see it every morning when I come up and put my little blind up. I'm looking at it right now and just, I matter. It just makes me feel kind of good,
That's what I was just going to ask how it makes you feel. So it makes you feel, yeah, it's just a little
Little note. Yeah. Yeah.
simple, like
That's all.
you should know that, but it's nice to have that
Mhm.
like thought.
Constant reminder. Yeah.
Mhm.
Reminder.
Yeah. Well chosen place
like-
too.
yeah.
I like that when you open the blinds, you're like greeted with
The
This
light comes
bright
in.
light, yeah,
a little
exactly. There
message.
it is,
Showers
yeah.
you with it. How nice.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Okay.
So we
I'm
can
laughing
Oh, go ahead.
because I'm thinking if I put that, well, we don't have a window, well, we do have a window to put it on, but and the next logical place would be in the bathroom in there, and I could
Yeah.
just hear what's that mean? What's that supposed to mean?
Okay.
And
This is going to be fun, Mom. Because I was waiting because that's an assumption.
Right. That's
Let's see.
clearly.
Report back. Do that. Put a post-it up. Says I matter or whatever you wanted to say. Put it up there, and
See what
then
he says, yeah.
I will be very curious to know how long does it take him to notice it? Does he notice it? Does he see it? And does he respond the way that you're assuming he will?
But I think the other thing, every time I look at
There's
it,
one more.
Go ahead,
when I
Peggy.
look at it, I think I matter to me. So I don't care so much whether I matter to anybody else. I matter to me. And that's kind of gets me going in the morning.
and that's I got a sneeze coming, but that's a really good one too, to put that, because sometimes you don't matter to you. You
Right.
take the
You
bottom,
trudge
and I'm
along
finding
and,
that
yeah.
working
Yeah.
pretty good on that one.
Yeah. But I think
I
it'll be
will,
an interest,
I want
that's,
something bigger than
yeah. I think that'll be an interesting thing to see, because to see how it plays out. Does it play out the way that we assume it
assume.
will or not? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
am I correct in that you are assuming that he is going to think you're trying to remind him that you matter? Is that
To
what you're
him.
going to say?
Well, no, as a matter of fact, no, ma'am.
Okay, then do tell. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
So I just assume he'll say, what is that supposed to mean?
He'll say something. I'm going to write a note and I'm going to put it up. And there's 3 or 4 people that walk through my house. I'll put it in the kitchen. I'm going to put, I love you unconditionally.
Oh,
And see if anybody says something, right? Because that's for all of us. That's for
Yeah.
me. That's for
Yeah.
each one of them.
yeah, yeah.
Right? And see
And
if
you're
they
gonna have a
acknowledge
parade
that.
of people tonight too at your
Oh,
house.
yeah, right?
And see, I mean, not necessarily that we're parading through your house. I want to be clear on that. We're
But we
it's a full moon
could.
tonight, Peggy and Kelly. And so Kimberly has offered to host it in her beautiful backyard.
Nice. Okay.
So that we have space to move and dance on a full moon. I lead us through a spirit flow where just a playlist of songs for about 20-30 minutes, and we move however we want to. And I was looking at my backyard thinking, I'd like a little bit more space. And
We
so
got
sound like a
lots-
Grateful Dead show.
Lots
That
of
was a Grateful
space.
Dead show, and Doug always loved it when he had a little more room to move in his space. Yes.
yes, a little space.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
A little more
A
space. Yeah.
little more space to move. So
Yeah.
I saw the moon was almost full 2 nights ago, and I was like, I wonder when it is. I always think of like, when is the
Looked pretty
end?
full last night. I thought it was full
yeah,
last
so
night.
last night and tonight are when, so it
Yeah.
reached its fullness this morning around, well, the moment where it is in exact opposition was this morning about 6:30 a.m. So technically on the 23rd, but really it was last night's moon. So it's always between the 2 nights, you'll see it. So it's considered the flower moon, and I'm looking out my window to all these beautiful flowers. And I know Mom and I have the thrill of allergies, so the flowers are in full bloom right now, but it's a really beautiful moon. And I just put up a video on YouTube about the Venus-Jupiter conjunction too, which is a really lovely, creative, expansive energy. So it's a great day to think about what you want to create.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I already created muffins. Does that count?
What's that?
I already created muffins this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, I made beautiful muffins.
I wish you can.
I know.
All right.
Thank you. Well, yeah.
Yum.
And that's exactly it, is that creativity, it doesn't have to be, writing a novel or starring in the play, or it doesn't have to be anything big besides like what little bit of beauty can we add into our realm, like the beautiful flavors and the smells and everything that comes from homemade muffins, to pulling weeds, if that's what you're in the mood for. Not me. I'm gonna let my weeds go.
You have a different topography.
What's that?
You have a different topography in your backyard. You've got a hillside, and it's not just rocks where the
where you could see
weeds
it.
just
Yeah.
poke
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, really sweet.
Well, cool. Well,
Okay, girls, are we on to next week?
yeah, next week we'll wrap up with the 4th agreement, which I really love. Always.
I got a lot of things underlined in that this month.
And then I encourage us to look at like the Toltec path to freedom, as how he wraps it up about the undoing of any agreements and just how to incorporate it forward. I have this huge note. I haven't reread it yet, but it just says pandemic. So I don't know what that's all about.
Oh.
But I have all kinds of notes in that last portion. So yeah. So since always do your best, I think I mean we'll start the conversation there, but then let's finish that last section too and see what comes up as we wrap it up.
Okay.
And then I do want to plant a seed for anybody who feels inspired and wants to keep on reading and being a part of a circle, is that in the month of June, I'm going to lead a group through the Artist's Way, which is a 12-week, it's right up here, the 12-week spiritual path to higher creativity. It's broken down week by week. And so I think that we will I'm not sure, depending on who joins in, but every week there's a couple things to read. There's some juicy stuff, but I think I like the
had to
idea
write it
of
down.
having a weekly call, whether we do our weeks on Thursdays or if we move the book club to Sundays, doesn't matter so much to me. It is a 12-week program though, so June, July, and August. And then we'll embrace it with the spirit of the Toltec wisdom to always do our best. And some weeks the artist way doesn't happen, and some weeks we're really thriving at it, and that's more than
Right.
enough. So
Yeah, it's interesting how many times I mentioned the 4 agreements, even before we started the book club.
Oh,
when
yeah?
Kelly and I started doing it to so many people. Even this morning, I was talking to somebody about, the whole 4 agreements, just
yeah.
implementing it into my life, and because her husband just recently passed away about 2 months ago. And I said, and we were talking about how well we're doing. And I said, actually, I think I'm doing much better because I've incorporated these 4 agreements into my life to make it be more
Oh,
positive. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's really
So
great. And hopefully that's something that
because of Kelly. Yeah.
she can receive that also and help her
Yeah.
on her
Her journey. Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Well, thank you all.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.
Yes.